All right, let's dive into a music movement that was so loud, so fast, and so angry that it pretty much blew up the rulebook for everything that came after it. This is the story of punk rock. You know that feeling when you're just scrolling, maybe through TikTok or a playlist, and you suddenly think, wait a minute, doesn't this all sound kind of the same? It's like you're in this endless feed of the same trends, the same beats, the same everything. Well, that exact feeling, that boredom with the mainstream, is exactly where our story kicks off. Okay, so picture this. It's the mid-1970s. Rock music was getting huge. I mean, the biggest bands were like rock gods playing these super long, really complicated songs with like 10-minute guitar solos. It was epic, for sure, but for a lot of kids, it was also just, well, boring. It really had nothing to do with their actual lives. So punk was the total opposite. I mean, look at this breakdown of the rebellion. Instead of those 10-minute long songs, punk songs were usually under 3 minutes. Instead of needing to be some kind of musical genius, the whole point was that anyone could pick up a guitar and play. It wasn't about being polished and perfect. It was about being raw, honest, and really, really loud. So what did this rebellion actually sound like? Well, it definitely wasn't about being a perfect musician. It was all about having a simple formula for just pure energy. So let's break down the recipe for that core punk sound. And here's the basic recipe. It's pretty simple. You take a guitar, you turn the distortion way, way up, and you just play a few simple chords. 3's usually plenty. Then you add a super fast, really steady drum beat and vocals that are more shouted than sung. The songs were these short, direct hits of energy. You can kind of think of them like the TikToks of their day, just a quick, powerful message compared to the 3-hour movies that prog rock was putting out. And the lyrics? They were just as direct. This wasn't some fantasy poetry about dragons and wizards. Nope, they sang about real stuff. Being bored out of your mind at school, hating your dead-end job, making fun of the people in charge, and just that general feeling of being an outsider. The words were simple, they were honest, and they were sarcastic. It was a voice for anyone who felt like they just didn't fit in. But here's the thing, punk was way more than just music. It was a whole philosophy, and right at the center of it all was one incredibly powerful idea. You don't need anyone's permission to create something awesome. This is the DIY, or do-it-yourself attitude. And this is probably the single most important part of punk. Instead of just waiting around for some big record label to discover you, you just did it yourself. It's the exact same spirit as someone starting a YouTube channel or making beats in their bedroom today. You've got an idea, you grab whatever you have, and you just make it happen. And this quote right here, it says it all. You didn't need a fancy studio. Bands recorded their first albums in garages on cheap tape recorders. And hey, if you were a fan who wanted to write about the music, you didn't wait for a magazine to hire you. You made your own. They were called fanzines. Think of them like the original blogs or maybe Instagram fan accounts. Literally just paper that you'd photocopy and hand out at shows. Of course, if you're gonna sound different, you have to look different too. Punk's visual style was designed to be just as shocking and anti-mainstream as the music itself. And this wasn't about buying expensive clothes from a store. The punk uniform was created from secondhand finds and customized right at home. We're talking ripped jeans, leather jackets covered in band patches, brightly colored hair, combat boots. It was a visual protest. But even more important, it was a signal. A way for people who felt like outsiders to find each other and build their own community. Now, the original punk scene, it was really only around for a few short years in the late 70s. But its impact? Man, that's a whole other story. The echoes of that explosion are definitely still being felt today. You can basically draw a straight line from those first garage bands to the massive alternative and grunge scenes of the 90s. Punk also directly inspired the Riot Girl movement, a super important scene that put female musicians right up front, shouting about things they cared about. And today, that DIY spirit is basically the engine of the internet. Every artist dropping a track they made in their bedroom owes a little something to punk. So, what's the most important thing to take away from all this? It's really this. Punk proved that you don't need to be rich or famous or professionally trained to make a difference. A few people with a clear, loud message can start a chain reaction that actually changes the world. That DIY spirit of punk is more relevant now than it's ever been. It taught us that if you see something you want to change, or if you just have something you need to say, you don't have to wait for anyone's permission. You can just do it yourself. So the real question is, what are you going to create?